Alright, folks, and welcome back to the channel. We're back to discuss Sunday's final Glasgow derby of the season as Celtic face Rangers at Celtic Park. I'm joined by Alistair as usual, but I'm also joined by Tino from the Celtic Exchange just to talk about Sunday's game and what is a must-win derby for Celtic. So, first and foremost, Tino, thanks very much for taking the time to come on the channel and also discuss Celtic.
Yeah, no worries, Josh. Great to be here. First time on the show, so looking forward to chatting with yourself and Alistair. And we'll see where you lads are at in terms of nerves and expectations for Sunday. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a big game, isn't it? But I'm excited about it at the same time.
Alistair, how you feeling about it?
I'm okay. I'll be honest with you, Josh. I hate the build up to these games. I just find them a stress fest, to be honest with you. But just want the game played and then hopefully I win and then we move on to Motherwell.
Aye,
That's where my
aye.
headspace at.
I think, to be honest with you, a win is what's needed. Tino, obviously, you don't. Obviously, me and Alistair have kind of discussed this season to its nth degree, basically. But obviously, it's been a bit of a mental season on and off the park for Celtic. What is your. How could you sum this season up in maybe like a few words? Because it's kind of hard.
Yeah, do you know, a few words just wouldn't do it justice. I wrote a wee article yesterday just about, it was about the new kit launch and the fact that it's such a brilliant new kit, but it's been launched against the backdrop of just a crazy season. And I started to list some of the things, Brendan Rodgers' exit, terrible summer transfer window, Kyra Almaty, crazy AGM, Wilfred Nancy in, Wilfred Nancy out, Paul Tisdale out, Casper Schmeichel drama. There is so much that's going on, and there's a number of things that I'll have missed there. So as we get to this point, we're 4 games to go, 3 league games and 1 Scottish Cup final to go. It's just crazy that we're looking at a potential double. There's work to be done. We maybe need a wee bit of something to go in our favour elsewhere, but to be going for a double at this stage after what's played out, this last year or so, it's been some season.
Aye, no, it is definitely. But Alistair, I mean, as Tino says, somehow find ourselves in a situation where we could still win a domestic double, even through all that kind of turmoil that's been on and off the park, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I would say, if you think about it, you leave Martin O'Neill in charge, you could be potentially looking at a treble now, which is even more bonkers when you think about it, that everything we've been through. But as mistakes have been made by the high Higgins, as you say, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, there's only one set of people to blame for it, and that's the board.
Aye,
So
no, definitely. In terms of the Rangers game, obviously it's kind of now a two-horse race between us and Hearts, which I think is fair to say. To be fair, obviously Rangers getting beat at 2-1 at Tynecastle on Monday. I don't really know what type. We've kind of discussed it as well as Tino. I don't really know what Rangers were going to get. Are we going to get the Rangers of the past few seasons where they've got nothing to play for and they come out and play like prime Barcelona against us, or are we going to get a Rangers team that are kind of down in the dumps, if you know what I mean?
I think we're getting the down in the dumps Rangers, because the Rangers that have beat us at different times when it's become a dead rubber, guys like Todd Cantwell and all that stuff coming to life, that's been at a time in the season when the league's been won, by a few weeks at that point. At the start of this week, Rangers were bang in the title race, and now they're out, and it's still very raw for them. And I think they'll be feeling pretty flat just now. I think they will be down in the dumps, and I think, a lot of the chat just now is beware the wounded animal. I just think they'll be scunnered, to use a term. I think they'll just be fed up. And I think they'll come to Celtic and they might have a wee go initially, but it's not really set up to be their day. The momentum's with us. I think it could be a massive day for Celtic, and I hope that we take all the positive things into the game between, the Green Brigade being there. The Green Brigade weren't there when they beat us in January. We've got Daizen Maeda in form. We've got Alistair Johnson coming back. We've got Arnie Engels kicking on fitness-wise. I just think momentum's, really pushing us on. So I think we're on the up and they're on the down, and I hope that's what eventually plays out on Sunday.
Aye, Alistair, they've done a kind of yearly tradition. What they seem to do, they seem to get in a position of some sort of strength and then kind of throw it away. To be honest, they've obviously lost their two games in the split, so we can't really be playing Rangers at a better time. To be honest, and obviously we've not beat Rangers in the league since August. It's August or September 2024. So we can't. I don't know what else Celtic want. It's all there for us to go and take it to them.
The thing is, I agree with everything Tino said, but what I would say is it depends how the game starts. If we can hit them early, they might just chuck it. That's my hope because I think what shouldn't be overlooked. This isn't John Bowney, Gerard, Alan McCoy. There are no Rangers fans in that team, or very few. So it's going to be hard for them to lift themselves because, especially, and I don't want this to happen, if if Hearts won on Saturday night, they're out. So are they, and a lot of the players might have moves in the summer. Are they going to really put their shoulder to the wheel when they know mathematically they're out? I know they're playing us, but I don't think that means a lot to professional footballers these days. I really don't. So
Aye.
that's what I think.
I mean, it's pretty simple what Celtic have today, Tino. We need to win because Hearts play Motherwell on Sunday, where we hope that maybe they can, Motherwell can do us a bit of a favour because we need favours, even if we probably win the next three games, just due to the goal difference being pretty astronomical. But needing a massive swing. But we have to win, and that these players are going to need to show up. These players have been criticised at times, rightly so, in my opinion, at times, but they have somehow shown up in kind of big games, the cup games, the European games. They have shown up when they've had to show up, and they need to do it again on Sunday.
Yeah, I think Alistair's right. I think the start will determine a lot of how the day is going to play out, and you're right as well, Josh. Some of these players at different points for different reasons in the season just haven't shown up, or they certainly haven't shown the best of themselves. But what's done is done, and as we sit here now, kind of first week in May, you can spend a lot of time looking at what's past, or you can just put it in the back burner and look at these next three league games. Forget even the Scottish Cup for now. Look at these three league games, and from a coaching point of view and a managerial point of view, Martin Neal's the ultimate man manager. And I think he'll have got his group together in recent days and asked them for just one last big push to get us over the line. We'll play three games in 6 days. We play Rangers on Sunday, Motherwell on the Wednesday, Hearts on the Saturday, and he'll be asking them to give their all in these last three games. And for some guys, it'll be the last three league games as Celtic players. We expect a number of guys to move on. But before they do move on, can they give their absolute all, their very best, to get us over this line? And I think that'll be the key message inside the dressing room.
Aye, a lot of the players have come out and they've kind of gave Martin O'Neill its plaudits. Even when Nancy was here, they were kind of coming out and crying for Martin O'Neill to kind of come back. If you think about it, but you need to look at it. You need to look at it as 4 games and we could potentially win a double. And I think they need to do it for Martin O'Neill, Alistair, because his legacy deserves something like that. He's come in when the club was in turmoil, basically, and has tried to at least steady the ship and attempted that the best he could. So if they're going to do it for anybody, the supporters, but Martin O'Neill as well, they have an opportunity. They need to go and take it. It's there for them to try their best and see if we win the 3 games. That isn't enough. Then they can at least say, right, we tried, and then we can look back and why we didn't win the league in the summer. But they've also got the Scottish Cup final as well. They have got an opportunity here to at least end their Celtic careers on a high, and that's what they should be doing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if Hearts are going to win it, make them serve it out because don't give them it because they'll be, make no mistake, they'll be wanting Rangers to take points off us. But you're right, these players, all they can do is win the 3 games, and what will be after that. But as I say, make them serve it out. And also, these players on the whole have been good for us, and they'll know what to end on a low point. And let's be honest, losing the league potentially at Hearts is a very low point. So they'll be want to try to avoid that.
No, definitely. In terms of recent form for us, Tino, I mean we beat Hibs at the weekend. We go out there again, and that's kind of been symptomatic. Or we're getting there. It's not pretty at times, and it's pretty torturous to watch at times. But we are getting there. We're getting the points. Kind of whatever means necessary, basically.
Yeah, they're just doing what they need to do, and it's not been pretty, and it's not been great football. And actually, Martin O'Neill's almost been unapologetic about that. He stressed during his first interim spell, and he stressed it again second time around. Winning's the name of the game, and his job is to win games of football. And he said, kind of jokingly, that if he didn't start winning games of football, he might not see out the end of the season. The club might make a decision to remove him, as bizarre as that might sound. So, yes, we'd love to have beat Hibs 3-4-0 at the weekend, and pretty football and free-flowing football. But the most important thing was getting the 3 points, and once again we managed to do that. And however he's managed to do it, and however he's managed to motivate the group, Martin O'Neill has got us in a position where, should we win those 3 games, and as discussed, we need a wee bit of help elsewhere, but should we win those 3 games, there's a high possibility you win the league. And as covered, it would just be incredible for us as a club, given what the season has looked like, but also incredible for 74-year-old Martin O'Neill to come back after all this time away and to win another league title for Celtic. It would be massive.
See if he did win it, statue getting built.
All day long, 100%. And it's, I kid on about some guys, build the statue and all that stuff. This guy is a bona fide modern day Celtic legend. The Martin O'Neill side of the early 2000s and beyond paved the way for the 2 and a bit decades of dominance that have followed. And you could argue that he possibly deserved a statue before this. If he manages to get this over the line, that would absolutely set it in stone, pardon the pun.
See, to be honest with you, I'm at the point where even if he won the Scottish Cup, I'd be looking at it. I think, as you said, he's been symptomatic of how Celtic have got on in the last kind of 2-3 decades. So I just think that I think he's done so much for the club, and he's come in and he's basically, he's come in when the club have basically begged him to come in, and he's come in and tried to do the best he could with the squad. In terms of you spoke about it a bit earlier about it, Alistair, about how there's players that have been there and done it. If I'm going to be honest, I think if we win this game, that's who we're going to need to call upon. It's got to be the players that have been there and done it, because I think the players that were brought in January and stuff like that, maybe apart from maybe 1 or 2, you can't really trust them as much as you could probably trust like a Maeda. Probably I'd even add Tierney to that, Forrest, because these are players that have been there and done it, so they need to step up as well. And obviously Maeda's started to kind of with a bit of form, so hopefully that kind of bodes well for Sunday.
Yeah, I definitely, and I think between the 3 of us, we could probably pick the team that's going to get picked. It might not be the team that me, you, and Tino would pick, but I think we can possibly guess the 11 that Martin will pick.
So who would you pick then?
Who would I pick, or
Who
who
would
do I think Martin O'Neill will pick? That's the difference. I would pick, my team would be Sinazal in goal, Johnson, Trusty, Scales, Tierney, Engels, Hatate, and McGregor. This is my team, by the way. And I would pick Maeda, Forrest, and Yang.
Aye. Tino, what about you? Who would you want to see if you were to pick it?
So the big one there with Alistair is Benji Negren, and I can understand, and I think there's a lot of people in that boat that just think he doesn't do enough. And again, I covered a wee bit. Obviously, he picked up all the awards at the Player of the Year. So he picked up Player of the Year, top goal scorer. But the really, really important one for me was Player of the Year, which is the one that's voted for by your teammates, your fellow pros, the guys that see what you do week in, week out, how hard you work, the sacrifices you make, the commitment you give to the team. And I think that's a big thing for a player like Negren. And I think it's a huge boost. And I think it's just so hard to leave a guy out that scores so many goals, even though the goals have dried up a wee bit recently. So I would be torn on that. The other side of me is a massive Real Hatate fan. And it's a mystery how he came back to life, came back to form at Ibrox, and then fell back out the picture very, very quickly again. I don't think he's even come off the bench the last 4 games. I would love to see, I think he might move on in summer, but I would love to see him just rediscover what we know he's capable of before he goes. But I can't quite work it out. And I think Alistair makes a point. There's a team that we all might pick. There's a team that Martin O'Neill picks. And I think Martin O'Neill's 3 is McGregor, Engels, and Benji Negren in the midfield.
I mean, Alistair, what has happened with Real Hatate? I'm miffed to actually know what happened.
See, Martin O'Neill doesn't entirely trust Genius, and Tino know this better, but me and Tino know this better than usual. He kind of done the same with Lubo. Lubo didn't play very regular, and they always threw Lubo in when we really needed something. So I've just got a feeling he's been keeping Hatate for the last 3 games and he's going to unleash him. But that is more hope than expectation. I think Tino might be right, but it's just me because I'm the original Hatate fanboy, as Josh will tell you, Tino. So I just love him. I think he's a great player.
He's quite. You need to watch what you say when it comes to attacking and Alistair, because he's the number 1 defender. I don't know. There was a podcast. I think Darren O'Dea was on the podcast, and I can't remember what it was, but I was listening to it. He basically come out and says that basically he's not pulling his weight in training. Apparently that's the rumour. I don't know if there's much in that, but it's just strange.
On you go, Tino.
Well, I was just going to say, I think from what we know of Martin O'Neill, and even Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham, you see, if you're not pulling your weight in training, you wouldn't be anywhere near the squad. I don't think Martin O'Neill would tolerate it. So I don't. It's funny, isn't it? You know, you watch the ex-players and stuff, and sometimes there's a bit of insight, but sometimes they know just as much or just as little as any of us here. You know, there's a lot of guesswork involved at times, and that's just part of this world. But I don't think there's anything that I could see that would suggest that Hatate wouldn't be pulling his weight. If he doesn't pull his weight, Martin O'Neill just casts him aside. And we've seen guys like Chinchara and Adamu and Mvuka. If you're not doing it and you're just not good enough, Martin O'Neill's got no time for sentimentality, and off you go. So I think Real Hatate finds himself a bit out the picture, a bit out of form. I don't think there's anything that would tell me it's an attitude thing. And like you, Alistair, I think he's such a talented player. He is a bit of a maverick, isn't he? You know, he has moments of brilliance in between some kind of run-of-the-mill things, but if you can somehow find that spark in Real Hatate, what an asset he would be over these next few games.
Obviously, this is a kind of mere open question to 2 whoever kind of wants to take it on can take it on. Obviously, Kelechi Iheanacho is another kind of player who's been discussing at starting games. Can he start games? Is he more effective off the bench? His fitness has obviously been questioned as well at times. I mean, but he's scoring goals and he's doing what no other striker on this team can do, and that's, as silly as it sounds, score goals.
I'll let you take a lead, Alistair. I'll wait to see what you say, then I'll come in.
I think, to be honest, Martin O'Neill is doing the right thing with Kelechi Iheanacho, because like the majority of squads, see when you start them, especially the forward players, they don't do the business. This team is very heavy reliant on substitutes, and you only need to look at the number of goals we're getting for subs. That tells you that whoever starts needs to be took off, and please don't start Mentaneki. So I would say that to get the best out of Kelechi and actually you need to bring him on because he's only got 20 minutes in the legs, and that's a damning indictment on on his fitness. And so that's my take on him.
Yeah, I
Great
really like.
footballer.
I really like him, and he's exciting to watch, and he's obviously scored some big goals. But I just don't think he's fit enough to do the running that you need in the early parts of the game as well. When you're trying to get a foothold in the game and you're trying to pin the opposition back, Daizen Maeda does that more effectively than any player. Geez, in world football, maybe, in terms of how he presses, it's just incredible, and it's a huge asset to Celtic. And if Maeda's playing through the middle, then Iheanacho can't. There's only place for one at this moment in time. But what Iheanacho has shown is that when he comes on later in the game, 60 minutes in or whatever, he's got this incredible ability to just find space and time in the box. It's almost like time stands still when he gets the ball at his feet. I think of that goal that he scored, the second goal against St Mirren in the Scottish Cup semi. He had no right to shoot for there, but he just one quick shuffle and he found the top corner of the net. And I think of that goal at the weekend against Hibs. It's an incredible touch on his chest. It seems to hang in the sky for about half an hour. But he's the most composed guy in the box when it comes down. And he doesn't blast it into the back of the net. He just finds a space and side foots it. And that's a unique skill to have. So I think he's got a big part to play on Sunday. But I think the manager will keep doing what he's been doing. He'll start with Daizen and he'll bring in Kelechi 60 minutes or so in.
You mentioned Daizen Maeda there. I mean, he's not hit the heights at last season, but I think that would be quite difficult to do that. I mean, he had a ridiculous campaign last season in domestic matters and obviously in the Europeans as well. I mean, but I think he's got an unfair kind of bout of criticism at times. I think people have had level that he's not interested, and I get it, but part of me just thinks I think last season was a bit of maybe a purple patch, and Daizen Maeda's never been the most technical football player on the planet in the first place. And I think because he had that good season last season, everybody's thinking, is this where he kind of, and new because that's kind of dried up and it's just kind of back to Dyson who presses. Everybody's like, is he any good? But I still think he's the only player in this team that can offer anything, or maybe I don't even know. Is there a player like Dyson Maeda in world football, Jet? He's just such a. You don't get Dyson Maeda players every single day.
I think he's one of the most effective players you'll ever see. He technically he has his limitations, and I feel bad saying that because he's been so good for Celtic. But we see it. If he's been really honest with himself, he would admit that at times. We've seen it in the last couple of games, despite playing so well. What's he got now? Four goals in the last 3 games and a couple of assists as well. But he's still ballooning shots over the bar and hitting balls out the park. It's all just part of the whole picture with Daizen Maeda. You need to take the rough with the smooth, and I think we've come used to that over the years. But I mean, I think of that goal at Hampden against St Mirren in the first minute, closing down the keeper. It was the most Daizen Maeda goal you'll ever see. And then he get one the next week against Falkirk where he's shut down the defender and he's taken the shot early and opens the scoring then as well. He's incredible. And I think he'll be so fondly remembered when he leaves Celtic. And I think he will leave in the summer. And he's had his ups and downs this season. And I think part of that can be because it looks like he was promised a move. He was being allowed to leave. And because we couldn't get our own house in order, we dragged him back from Wolfsburg, I think it was. And that's hard for any player when you've got one foot out the door, head-wise and family-wise and all that stuff. So I think it's understandable that he had a blip. But I think right now, these last couple of weeks, we've seen the very best of him again. And long may that continue as we try and see out this season.
Alistair, I mean, if he could... is he hitting form at the right time? I mean, he's scoring, as Tino says, and he's pressing. But I just look at it and go, he needs to be the kind of talisman for us on Sunday. I just think he can have that much an impact if he's up for it. And if it is going to be kind of his last derby as such, then surely he will be up for it. And that's what I'm kind of trying to hold on to, that bit of hope that this is going to be a lot of these players' last ever kind of experience a Celtic Rangers game. I don't know if that means anything to more than kind of football player, but but surely they must think, right, I don't want to go out here and get beat and probably put ourselves out the league. I still want to, give back to kind of the fans and don't ruin kind of a legacy that I've built for myself here.
You're both forgetting one thing. He's got to terrorise James Tavernier one last time. So that'll be good. And see, to be fair, the players that just do it in derbies, and the thing, Dice Maid is one of those players. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Can you ever remember him having a poor derby? Because I can't, especially at home. Especially at home, he always gives his all when we play Rangers. So hopefully I've no jinxed it, and he can do what he's been doing for the last 3-4 seasons with Rangers, the victims again. So hopefully that's the case.
You remember the talking about Dies Maida type goals and James Tavernier. You remember that goal at Ibrox? Was that just last season? In the first 21 seconds, and he's closed down Tavernier, and it's ricocheted off him, and it goes in by Jack Butland. That in itself is an iconic Dies Maida goal. It's just the kind of thing he does. And I don't know if James Tavernier starts on Sunday or not. He's obviously in and out the picture at Rangers, and he'll be fully out the picture in just a couple of weeks' time. But Dies Maida terrorised James Tavernier. He just can't live with him. And I'd like to see that match up one more time. It could be really beneficial for Celtic if that's the way the lineups shape out.
That kind of leads on to my final kind of question, just to kind of wrap up and stuff. But I mean, it's kind of two questions in one. How did we beat Rangers, and do you think we will beat Rangers? I'll get to Tino first.
I think we will. I think we have to. So, that's part of it too. And at some point, if things aren't going our way, we'll need to take the handbrake off, because a draw's no use, no matter what happens at Fir Park. And I'm a wee bit hopeful that Hearts might drop points to a decent Motherwell side. But forgetting that for now, we need to continue to do what we've been doing and take care of our own business. But again, I just think I mentioned the momentum, and I also mentioned the motivation. As players, the manager effectively shouldn't even have to do anything. The players know what's at stake. They know what's going on, what's been going on in the past, and they've got this crazy opportunity to go and finish in the ultimate high. And you mentioned rightly, Josh, these players that won't be here, and there's a whole raft of players for different reasons that won't be at Celtic Park next season. But what an opportunity to go out on the ultimate high and finish strongly, A, with a win against your big rivals, and B, hopefully topping that up with the league title in the end, and C, actually the Scottish Cup into the bargain. So there's lots going on there. In terms of how we beat Rangers, I think there's a lack of a distinct style about Celtic at this moment in time. It's not particularly clear what we're looking to do. Whereas under Ange, for example, you knew exactly how he wanted to play. And I think to an extent, Martin O'Neill has relied on individual ability. Ultimately, our players being better than the opposition's. And I think on that basis, you just need a few individuals to really step up on the day. So you're looking for a hero. And it might be Dyson Maeda, and it might be Callum McGregor, or it might be Benjamin Minigren, or it might be Arnie Engels. Who knows? It requires a few guys to really step up on the day. And I do think over the piece, we've got better players than Rangers. And the hope is that come Sunday at 12 o'clock, those players step up and get the job done.
Alistair, what do you think?
I honestly think that if we start well, we get the crowd on my side, which I don't think will be a problem with the GB back. I don't know if covers they like to be known as. I don't think that actually be underplayed either. It'll be raucous in there, and hopefully we get an early goal. And you never know, it might be another doing. Says me, but we can just hope that we do the business.
Are you brave enough to give us a prediction?
4-0.
You went brave there, man.
I
Tino,
know.
what about you? Would you give us a prediction?
3-1. Yeah.
The pessimistic myself, as I'm known, I think 2-1. I think
2-1
we'll
Celtic.
win. to Celtic. Aye, of course.
It was getting cut off of his head anything else.
No, 2-1. I don't know where the goals are coming from. I've said that a lot this season, but I don't know where 4 goals are coming from Alistair's prediction, but I certainly hope that you and Alistair are right, because then it's a bit more comfy. But I can just see scrape.
Before we finish, I still think we'll win this week. I don't know what it is. I've just got a good feeling about this week.
As I've told you a lot of times, I hope you're right. I genuinely do. If I'm being honest, I've just I can't see it, but I hope that I'm wrong and you can all sit and laugh at me. But no, hopefully we need to win on Sunday. Even if it doesn't really mean anything in context of the league, you don't want Rangers putting the kind of the end to our title charge, if you know what I mean. If Hearts do it and they win all their games, then at least Hearts have done it. I just don't want Rangers to do it. And we need to go back to being Rangers in the league, because as I said, we've not done it since 2024, which is mental. We've also not, I think, lost 2 games in the trot at Celtic Park, am I right or wrong there?
I'm not sure.
The one. I think it's only the one.
Barry Ferguson.
It is important. It's important to redress the balance, and it's also important. It's not the big. So in terms of what Rangers have got to play for, their 2 main drivers are beating your biggest rival and bursting that balloon, and also there's Champions League. So second place still gets Champions League qualifiers. So Celtic need to make sure that at the very least, we're getting second. But actually, Martin O'Neill won't be entertaining that. The target is first. That's what everyone's driving towards. And whether it's Sunday or any of the games beyond that, that's got to be the full focus. So the same old message applies, lads. Get our own job done, and then we just need to sit back and watch what else happens elsewhere.
I think that's the best way to go about it. But I'm going to wrap it up there for today's video. Me and Alistair will be back on Sunday for post-match reaction to the game, hopefully talking about a Celtic win. Also, go over and subscribe to the Celtic Exchange. It's a great podcast, so I'll link it in the description. And if you could go there and get a subscription. But thanks very much, Tino, for coming on and giving us your time.
Magic, listen, great to be on, great to be chatting Celtic with you two lads, and let's do it again sometime soon.
No, that's great. Thanks very much, Tino.